Hey, this is Tracy with Color Me This. I am working on episode 28 with you today, and I am going to be reviewing in the next couple of episodes all of the coloring type things I worked on over my vacation. You will see, maybe this will be familiar to you. Yes, these are Copic markers. It is my almost complete marker collection. I'm going to give you a brief history, and then I probably will go away and finish adding a set of markers once I explain what is going on here. So back in the day, I used to show horses. I showed breed shows, if that's familiar to you. I showed quarter horse shows and would travel around. Sometimes it was in training, sometimes not, but mostly in training. And toward the end, I switched to what's called reining, where you do running really fast, sliding stops, and fast turnarounds, and it was really fun. And a thing that I did to help pay for that hobby was I would bring items that I made, or later on I had equipment that I could make clothing. I could add bling to show shirts because I had a heat press and a hat press, and I would customize with vinyl and some t-shirt transfer materials that I had, and I would bring my computer. So I brought the horse, I brought the computer, brought my cameo silhouette, and I had racks for clothing and boxes of clothing, and it was just crazy. So when I was doing that, unbeknownst to me, I was doing a disservice to my back. And I sold the reining horse. I had two reining horses actually. I don't count the first one because he was one that I kind of worked on my own, and he wasn't bred for reining, though he did very well. So I had two reining horses, and then I suffered a spine injury that probably all the years of riding helped instigate it. So at that point, when I had the back injury, it was time for me to let horses go. So I took on paper crafting. So by about 2014 or so, I had found my new friends in the card making world and was going to crafting retreats for, we would do through 2 a year. I think it was 2 a year. And it was loads of fun, and I would go to crops, and that's when I started my Copic collection. So I started by buying them mostly used, or when there's a couple of different Carpe Diem markers, and then later Scrapbook Pal would carry them, and they would have really reasonable prices, though still in the $4.25 to $4.50, I think, were the prices that I would try to get them while they were on sale. And then aftermarket prices, I would buy a lot off of eBay and check the numbers the best I could and try not to get a ton of duplicates. But at that point, I had like a Copic network of people, and we would all share any duplicates that we had. And that's still what I do to this day. Because in 2017, my complete set of Copic markers was destroyed. We lost our home in an accident the first year we were traveling, and everything in it, including my full set of markers. So the second time around, I was no longer working, so the speed with which I have collected this many markers, which is about 275, maybe 250, because I have 25 off to the side that I'm integrating into my bags here. So I had the collection. I had them in a hard plastic, very small, as small a footprint as I could make them. And it's a DIY that is on my other channel, and I will post that. And the second time around, I knew I wasn't going to have that many markers, or even anywhere near that many markers, for many years to come. So now here I am on the other side of that hole, coming up out of the valley after a really bad experience. And then I'm up here, and years later, I'm staring at all of these lovely Copic markers. Can't believe that they are mine, and I have slowly collected them with the help of family and friends. And when I first was collecting them, I had each case has two 72s of the Copic old black cases. I had those in storage, so after the accident I was able to go get these, and I've packed around the ones that didn't fit in the first bag, because I started with the first bag and I started with one case of 72. Slowly then I gathered enough to add a second 72 case into this one case, and I've been collecting them since 2018. So I finally, last year, Hobby Lobby had a sale, and I was able to run over there with my very precious Copic checkbook that has all of the colors that I have collected, and I was able to, buy the ones that I needed. I love how this folds in just like a checkbook would and protects the layers underneath, because as you can see, it goes right all the way through. And at that same time, my crafting friend Libby, who is actually a fellow demonstrator, she's my upline as they call it, or the team leader, she went to her Hobby Lobby, sent me pictures. Her Hobby Lobby had a lot more, so I was able to get enough between me going and her going that I was finally at the point of expanding to 2 bags. And what all of a sudden made the explosion happen is that I took out and matched my swatch charts, which the Copic swatch charts start with a different color family than pencils. Pencils, I like to start with yellow, but here is the color family chart for Copics. There are 358 markers, and at the bottom of each long list I have the count of what I have, and I think I'm, like I said, oh, here it is. So last year, it wasn't last year, it was in February, I jumped up to 246. So when I jumped up to 246, I then took my 72, so 72 times 4 is 288. And I thought, okay, now is time for me to explode them all out and leave gaps, so that when I get any later orders of these markers, I can already have them all sorted in their order with gaps, and I can just insert them into their spot. So what I had to do, in addition to the 472s, this is the inside, oops, and they all fall out, that's the problem, of 72s. So it is 4 sets of 12, so that's 48. And then here's the snaps that would normally fit into the outer, which also has 2 more rows. But I didn't have room to have this one in its slot, so I only had room for 48 on this side. I have some odd 24 here that I don't even know what the format is of this, because if I show you the underside without letting them all fall out, it doesn't have snaps. So this is some sort of standalone 24. So the 24 plus the 48 plus the 288 is 360. So that should be enough for my base collection once I fill it all up. So I collect sketch. I've never bought the, pardon me, I'm getting my pencil, the one that fell. So I have never collected anything other than the sketch and a few originals. The originals, I have a mark here that I put in, which is a filled in square, tells me that I own the Superfine, which is a special nib that they came out with quite a few years ago now. See, it feels like yesterday that all of this happened. So I had to buy the squares in certain colors, so these were not bought aftermarket or used. And then I bought these special nibs, and that's what they look like. I hear rumor that they now have a Superfine nib for sketch, but I'm so far into my current collection process that I am continuing with just sticking with what I have. The problem with the Superfine for the sketch markers is you have to replace the brush nib, which I have to have my brush nib. The chisel nib I don't ever use. Very rarely do I make a large enough space that a chisel nib would make sense to use. The brush nib I find in the ovals, the same small ovals you use to color in a pencil evenly, is somewhat how I color in a large area using the brush nib. So the chisel nib just would not be my choice of nib to use. So now that they have the sketch with the superfine, you still have to replace the brush. So I'm probably not going to be adding any more of the superfines. The colors that I chose were the darks of each color family. So I have, oh golly, how many do I have? Maybe, maybe I have less than 20 of the superfines, and that's plenty for what I need. So I don't have room in these bags for the superfines to live, but I do have a case that once I get everybody all put in their slots, it will free up enough room in this. This is a 72. It's the size of 72, but I've already taken the center out and put it in. So you just have the 12 times 2 is 24. So I will be moving these random sketches, which are the ovals, into my case that I have now fully fleshed out the storage for them. And that's what I'm working on now, is updating my most recent orders. So Libby, who I went and visited in North Carolina, had maybe 6 weeks ago, sent me pictures of a store shelf and said, hey, all of these Copics are on sale, on clearance for $3.25. So I decided to flesh out a couple of my color families that I use a lot of and that I always need more. For me, I really always need greens because there are so many different varieties of greens, and then I'm always in need of more blues. So I bought a few earth tones, one red, a couple of the gray tones, which I'll show you in a minute what I'm collecting of that. And then I think I completed yellow green. I think I own all of them now. So, oh no, it's just the greens. So here's the list of color families going vertically, and then the numbers at the bottom are the counts that I own. It looks like of the greens, so it wasn't yellow green, it's green. I own 22, and I must have gotten G40, G12, and G85. So I've completed greens, and you can see here that I have completed the colds. So for me, given that money is precious, as I am a fixed income retiree, I will be slowing down even more my collecting. I think 275 is a nice, fine number to own. I have opted not to collect the toner grayscale color. I started with the colds and the warms, and the only reason why I went with the naturals is those happen to coordinate perfectly with the Stampin' Up! Alcohol markers. Their alcohol marker line is much smaller than Copic's, and their price on them is way less for buying new. So that's where I am at with my collecting, and I am filling out. I have 2 swatch charts. Don't ask me why I ended up with 2 altogether, but now that I have 2, I'm continuing to maintain the 2. And then I also, when I'm going shopping for Copics, I will pull out this, put it in my purse, and off I will go. See, here's the 3 blue greens that I got on 10/13, and then I got them when we went on vacation. So she had these for 6 weeks, and then when I went up to North Carolina for my crafting event with her, she gave me my Copics, and I have since started to swatch them. And I mainly nowadays, as a collector, don't use them so much for coloring I will use them for organizing other things that need specific colors. So I actually colorize labels a lot with these. So that is a fun thing that you can do with alcohol markers. Even if you get just the ones from China, you can buy them so cheap now that they make very good labeling. You can just cover over. I color ribbon, rhinestones, sequins, and pearls. If I'm not happy with the Stampin' Up! Selection of colors, I can just quickly dig through, because I know my Copic colors by heart because I've had them so much longer, and I will use those to stylize something very specifically for something that I'm making, and I can do signage with them. So I use them as an all-around marker. I choose to use them more than the Stampin' Up! Blends alcohol markers because I can buy refills. If I ever use up like the very light blue and the like BG0000 and B0000, I have refills for, as well as a couple of the grays, warm and cold, the very light ones that I use for making shadows. And I would rather run out of a Copic marker than a blends marker because I can just buy the refill. So that is what I am working on today. And like I said, I believe I have 275 markers. This is the complete color family order from the chart on the left, which starts with the BV. So here's my BV collection, of which if you look, I'm so close. I only needed BV 25 and BV 0000, and that will be done. Walking through the violets, pinks to reds, yellow reds, which would be orange, yellow, yellow, green, green, blue, green, the blues. So I've got some blues to fill in. I've completed my greens, got a few yellow greens. So this chart is not quite all the way done. And then I did complete I only needed 2 C colors, and I've already updated that part of the chart. Ironically, the black, I only own a square black because for some reason, whenever the sketch colors are available, that one is always sold. So what I plan to do, so I only own a square black, and it's super fine and chisel. So that means I do not have a brush nib, but you'll see right here is C10. So that is so close to the black that I just substitute the C10 if I need to, for black, if I need one in the brush nib. So that is it. If you have any questions at all, oh, I have one other important thing to say. So you might be thinking, so she buys these used. How many used ones has she bought that have problems? I have never had a failed Copic from the first set that I bought any used of, and now this set, which is a lot of used, and then some, maybe 70 of them were bought during clearance sales when Hobby Lobby got rid of them, and now this most recent one. But here is W9, which I just got from Libby, and it is bad, so I wrote on it with another one that worked. So that's the kind of labeling that these are just great for. I have Sharpies, and I use Sharpies, but if I want to colorize something, I can use these just like you would a Sharpie. They write on the same materials very well and do a great job of a more permanent highlighting using the lighter colors. So I cannot stress enough that these pens have been so useful for me for just even household stuff. Oh, the other cool thing, our trailer, I've always tried to keep our wood of our trailer nice, and our wood is like a middle to dark color. I'm trying to see, like this color. I have over and over pulled out E47 and used it to touch up our cabinets throughout our trailer. And I just recently, because we're going to be selling our trailer, I went through it again and took this marker and went through the entire trailer and got rid of all of the scuffs, chips, any of the wear marks, and it all looks beautiful. So here's this bad marker. It's the only one I have received in all of the years of me collecting these, and here's why it is bad. It's not snug. So I did a little research, and evidently in the last few years, at some point, Copic has changed their manufacture of the barrels, the bodies of these, which you can refill. And there's been some issues with cracking and lids not staying on tight. So when I use this, somewhere is my piece of scratch paper. I went to mark in my book, and this is what happened. I kind of knew it looked kind of funky on the end, and sure enough, it's all dried out. So this side felt really tight. It snaps closed nicely. But see this, the minute I pulled the chisel off, I knew that was the problem. So I have to throw this away. I spent in all my years, I spent $3.50 on this pen plus tax, and I have to throw it away because it's no good. So that, in all my years, is the only bad Copic marker I have ever had. My mom is one of my fellow collectors where I actually overbought one marker C0, and so I'm going to find out if she needs it. And so I have a couple of family members that still collect, so I'll see if anybody needs the C0, and it'll just go in there for Christmas and birthdays. I just save them in a box and send them off whenever I get extras, which does not happen very often. So that is my only bad experience with Copic markers, was that W9 that I just got from Libby. So if you have any questions, comments, concerns about Copic markers, I've not purchased any other brands of, like, I don't even call them knockoff anymore because they are legit on their own. The Ohuhu markers, I know people really love those. I already own the blends, and I like those. They work great. The nibs are not as robust. The brush nib on the Stampin' Up! Markers is not as robust as these brush nibs, and I can also replace the brush nibs. So that's the other reason why, if I'm doing a non-card making specific task, I will always pick a Copic, because you can buy nibs. The body is the thing. Like, I can't fix a lid that doesn't snap on like it's supposed to, but I can fill it with ink and I can replace the nibs if I wear them out. So if you have a favorite alcohol marker that you really like and you have owned the Copics in the past, let me know, because I don't really know what is out there. I just don't pay attention to the alcohol marker type of coloring. Now I do have room, but it's still a cost. And if I have a choice between some sort of alcohol marker set, then I might get a whole bunch of markers, or a colored pencil set. I will always go for a colored pencil set because I have my Copics. So that's all I've got for today. I will finish this chart. I will take a picture of it and we'll post the finished chart with my new markers that I've gotten, so that my full collection is there for the world to see. As always, thanks for watching, and I really appreciate all of my subs as I am growing this channel. And if there's any specific content you would like to see, or any questions that you have, be sure to leave them on my channel, and I'm happy to answer them.